How are you? This is Coach Alicia, and I am coming at you today with your Thursday informational knowledge bombs. We're going to talk about a pretty interesting topic today. I'm really excited about this because I'm hoping that it will answer a lot of questions for you and also will kind of help you see some of the signs and symptoms of the topic that we're going to see, or the topic that we're going to discuss kind of coming up, ways that you can talk to somebody about it, and most importantly, how to get out of that. So, today we are going to talk about overtraining and kind of the signs that your body needs a break, what to do when you start to feel like you're overtraining, what are, like I said, some signs and symptoms of that, why it's important to kind of understand these things as well. And then I'm going to finish off by giving you a couple like very straightforward step one, step two, step three things with overtraining. So I'm going to first start off with asking a question, and you can drop your answer down below in the comments if you like. But have you ever felt like you're doing everything right? You're working out more, you're eating cleaner, you're pushing the limits, you're pushing yourself to fatigue, and somehow you're feeling worse instead of better. That like tired, puppy, stressed, stuck, kind of like just like what is happening type thing. More than likely, it's most of you. And that's kind of what brought you to V-Shred. And I will tell you also that we as coaches go through this all the time as well. These are all things that we talk to about overtraining. Today, we're going to be breaking down overtraining, kind of what it actually is, how it shows up differently depending on your life phase and things that you have going on, and how to make peace. Most importantly, hear me loud, loud, loud here. Make peace that rest isn't weakness. It's part of the plan. Everybody has to rest and recover. So, part one of this little talk here is going to talk about how context matters. This is very, very, very important. Overtraining isn't just about working out too much. It's about doing more than your body can recover from, given everything else in your life. What might have felt totally manageable in your 20s, training 6 days a week, skipping sleep, having a cup of coffee and three energy drinks, and then working 12-hour shifts or, you know, whatever, relying on caffeine, living off of like Taco Bell and maybe like a fun salad every once in a while, that might completely derail you in your 30s, 40s, and beyond. When hormones start to shift, stress accumulates, and recovery starts to slow down a little bit. All of us, I'm almost 40, I'm gonna be 39 this year. I can't believe that. But I see people all the time in their 20s and they're like, I can go work out and I can do this, this, and this. And I'm like, just wait. I'm telling you, once you turn 35, like that is not gonna work for you anymore. And they kind of brush it off and they laugh. And honestly, I did that same exact thing when I was in my 20s. And the older I got, I was like, dang, they were not lying. That is for sure. So, one of the things that I first want to tell you is if you are somebody that goes on social media a lot, like all of us, this is why it's really important to follow coaches or content creators or fitness influencers who understand the realities of your life stage that you're in. Not just people who are like half your age with no kids, no 9 to 5, unlimited recovery, blah, 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 blah. Find coaches and surround yourself with people who understand where you are at this point in time in your life. That's the first thing that I am going to kind of talk a little bit about. Your life load matters just as much as your training load. So, for example, let's take two women here. One is 25, single, sleeps 8 hours, works part-time, is going to college, finishing up like her master's degree or something like that. The other one is 42, works full time, has three kids, sleeps for 6 hours. Sometimes, usually, it's interrupted because one of the kids is getting up, is perimenopausal, and we'll say, I don't know, she just found out her water boiler broke and she has to like go purchase a new one. Both of those people are trying to do the same workouts. Do you think same workouts is kind of same, we'll say, path to getting fit and healthy? They're going to have two totally different recovery needs there. The 25-year-old who doesn't really have a ton of life stress. Yes, they've got stress. Like, I went to grad school, I get it. Like, we get it. There is stress when in your 25s, but it's not really that much compared to what we experience when we get into like late 30s and 40s and such forth. The 25-year-old is going to have a lot of time to be able to recover. Nothing's waking her up in the middle of the night. She's 25. Her hormone levels are probably pretty optimal right now. And, if she needs to push her workout back a couple hours, like she can still get it in and be totally fine. Now, on the flip side, the 42-year-old, and this may resonate with many of you, male or female here, the 42-year-old, you know, if she doesn't have that 30-minute window to be able to work out in, she might not be able to get it in, so she may sacrifice sleep in order to get her workout in, because in her mind she's like, oh well, like I don't need, like, why would I sleep when I can, like, work out and burn all these calories and stuff. Her recovery isn't, the best, because she can sometimes remember to get some water in, like maybe while she's driving. She's perimenopausal, so her hormones are just doing like, Cotton Eye Joe in her body every single day. She's not going to be able to recover as well. The 42-year-old's going to is going to suffer symptoms of overtraining a lot faster than a 25-year-old, even if they're following the exact same workout. So that's the first thing that I really want to focus in on, is that context really, really matters when we start talking about overtraining. What works for me may not work for somebody else. Also, too, it very much depends on where you are sort of in your fitness journey as well, too. So if you're brand new to fitness and you're kind of just starting to build that new kind of love of fitness, going to the gym, hitting it hard, doing all the things and stuff like that, then you may find that you need a little bit more extra recovery than somebody who's been going to the gym consistently and can push those 5 days, or, built that really strong foundation. It all very much just matters where you are kind of in your life. So let's talk about some quick common signs of overtraining. I'm going to tell you about kind of the like the really big telltale signs, and then we'll kind of talk about some non-traditional but very real signs of overtraining as well. So first thing is lingering fatigue. Are you just always feeling drained? Like, you just, no matter how many white monsters or how much caffeine you're having or energy shots or anything like that, you just like feel like you can't get yourself going enough? Are you noticing loss of performance? Are you showing up and that 10-minute mile that you used to run every single day is now turning into like 11 or 12 or 14 minutes, and you're just like, what the heck is going on? Why can I not just like get myself moving? Trouble sleeping. Are we noticing that it's taking us a long time to fall asleep? Are we not able to stay asleep for a long time? Are you waking up in the middle of the night or waking up in the morning just being like, ugh, like I could sleep for 12 more hours? A big one here also is low motivation. If Are you somebody that, like, you started off and you're just like, yes, my gym workout, I'm so excited, I can't wait, I'm so excited. And then suddenly you're just like, if I have to see another dumbbell or talk to another person at the gym or walk into the gym, I'm just gonna like lose my mind. That's a sign of overtraining. Soreness that won't quit. You just feel like every single day is just this compounding stress of like, oh my goodness, like why can't I just recover? Why is my body still hurting from my workout that I did 3 days ago? Increased injuries, something that we kind of don't like to think about, but it definitely happens. Do you have that nagging shoulder thing where it's just like, why won't you go away? Why won't you fix yourself? Are you noticing like, oh dang, like I keep hurting my back no matter what I do. I try to get so strong, but I just keep hurting my back again and again. That can be a sign that, like, you know what, maybe like we're redlining it a little bit too much. And then last one that is a pretty common sign, I would say, is kind of cravings or loss of appetite. Do you just not feel very hungry anymore? Are you you look at food and you're just like, ugh, like this is not satisfying me. I just don't want any of this. Like, you just, for some, like, you're doing all of this work and you're like, why is my appetite not catching up to it? Those are all kind of like the most common signs of overtraining. Now, I also want you to really key into some non-traditional but very real signs of overtraining. Something that I want you to think about is like your body is going to give you soft little whispers before it starts screaming at you. So pay attention to those whispers. First one is digestive issues. Are you experiencing more bloating, constipation, loss of appetite, kind of stuff? Like, do you feel like you're eating your food and it's just like sitting inside of you? For me, I will tell you personally that that is the first sign of overtraining for me. If I am too deep into like getting ready for an Olympic weightlifting meet, the sport that I competed, and I start feeling like I'm having digestive issues, I know that I'm starting to overtrain a little bit. Breakouts or skin flare-ups. One of the things that happens with overtraining is it messes with our hormonal balance. So our hormone panel kind of just gets all whacked because we have a lot of that stress cortisol, just running rampant in our body. That can cause kind of us to like think that we're back in like 13-year-old puberty days and suddenly we start like breaking out randomly, or like our skin starts getting weird. Like you just notice that like, hey, like why does my skin feel weird? Higher resting heart rate or your HRV drops. Now, this is something that you'll notice if you do something like an Aura band, or you have a watch that tracks your resting heart rate. If every day you're kind of seeing that resting heart rate when you are sleeping, like creeping up and up and up and up and up, then that's also a sign that your body is not recovering. Remember, when you are sleeping, that's where all the magic happens. That's where your muscles are getting built, your hormones are getting happy, your brain is able to shut off and kind of reset itself. But if we're overtrained and we're pushing that red line too much, none of those things are going to be able to happen. Um, Emotional reactivity. Now, if you were to ask my husband, he would say that this is the first sign of, me being overtrained, but of course it's not. I would never be an emotional person, but truthfully, it does happen. Are you more snappy? Do you feel very overwhelmed? Do you feel very anxious? Do you just feel like you just like can't like just chill yourself out a little bit? Those are 100% signs of overtraining. Feeling puffy despite eating very clean or following your meal plan. Maybe you're like super regimented with your eating and you're eating the same thing, the same amount of calories, and suddenly like the scale is like 1 pound, 1.5 pounds heavier, 3 pounds heavier. And then like a week goes by and you're like, how did I just gain 5 pounds here? Part of that is because we're not giving our body, again, enough time to recover from it. So that puffy kind of feeling coincides with hormones and also digestive issues that we have, um, is signs that your body's just not getting enough of that rest and recovery time. And then lastly is this is very subjective as well too, but obsessing over progress or feeling panic when missing a workout. Are you feeling like if you missed one of your exercises that you just undid all of your progress? Or like you're looking in the mirror and you start being like, oh my God, like I ate 5 extra almonds yesterday and now like I look puffier today or something. When we start getting really obsessive about things, that's another sign of overtraining. Now, the good news is that first off, this is a very common thing. A lot of people experience overtraining. It is not something that is reserved for like your elite level NFL players or your high level CrossFit athletes or fitness influencers, stuff like that. Truthfully, I find that my average everyday person, everyday client, is more likely to overtrain than my elite high level like athlete clients that I have. This is mainly because we are so used to that go, go, go kind of mentality that we're just like ignoring all of those like little whispers, remember, that are happening in our body. And this is where people start to get really discouraged. They tend to drop off of their plan and everything. But there's a way to kind of rewire this and help yourself through this. Remember, at V-Shred, our main and most important thing is that we want this to be a program that you are able to follow for the rest of your life. So understanding what to do about these times when like possibly you're feeling a little overtrained is really important for this longevity factor. So the first thing that I want you to take away from kind of this rewiring our guilt around rest is that rest is when your body builds. I already kind of talked about it a little bit when it came to sleep. You don't build your body during a workout. You build your body after the workout. So all of that rest and recovery time, that good sleep, that good nutrition, that good stress, the good stress relief kind of things that you're doing like that, that is where all of the magic happens. If we don't give ourselves that rest time, we're not going to make progress whatsoever. Most people think that if they take a day off, it will derail progress, when in actuality, skipping rest will really slow your progress. The same thing goes and applies to your workouts as well too. If you're like, why am I not making strength gains when I'm like working so hard in my workouts? And it's like, well, you're only resting like, 10 to 15 seconds between exercises. You're never giving your body a chance to like recover and get all of that energy, that ATP storage back up to be able to hit your next set. All the magic happens when you are resting. And just remember, like, taking a break isn't quitting, it's just resetting. Like, we wouldn't look at an Olympic level athlete that after they compete in the Olympics and they take 2 to 3 months off of like training, are we like, those losers, like, they can't hack it. Look at all this time that they're taking off. No, they understand that after when they are experiencing high levels of stress, they have to give their body that time to reset and relax. So a couple tips real quick on how you can really shift your mindset around overtraining is schedule rest like any other workout. So it feels just as important. This hustle culture of like, I'll sleep when I'm dead or no days off type of mentality is wonderful and great for, Instagram and social media, but in our bodies, it does not happen that way at all. If you start to feel very anxious about thinking about taking a day off, schedule a very or like low impact type of activity for it. Go for a walk. Even better, schedule a walk with a friend. Maybe take a yoga class. Maybe you work on some mobility or something that's not going to stress your body. You're still going to feel better because you feel like you're doing something that's still pushing that needle forward towards your plan, but we're not stressing the body a ton. We're doing something productive, giving it time to rest and recover. Also track how you feel after rest days, not just gym days. If you're lifting super heavy, like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, doing a 4 day split or something, and you're like, oh my God, like by Wednesday, I feel like so drained and I must be doing everything right and everything. But then you're not tracking how you're feeling on rest days, then you're really also missing out quite a bit. And then last thing to do is kind of like ask yourself, would I tell my best friend to keep pushing like this? And I know this is really hard because it's very easy to be like, oh, well, what would you tell what would you tell your friend or what would you tell your spouse or what would you say to somebody else? And then to try and take that kind of motivation or kind of, talk and then bring it to yourself. It's very difficult to do. I get it. I totally get it. But there's also a lot of power in that. If you saw one of your friends was just like dark circles under the eyes, they're complaining that they're never sleeping, they're complaining that the scale's going up, and they're like, I'm so drained. You would be like, dude, Becca, you need a day off. Like, you just got to chill for a little bit. But for some reason, we won't think of that for ourselves. So talk to yourself the same way that you would talk to somebody else. And if we're still kind of like having like issues trying to figure out like, well, why should I do this? Here's a quick analogy for you. You wouldn't keep pouring water into a cup that's already full. Like it gets to the top and you're like, okay, sweet, I'm going to drink my water now. The cup gets a little empty and then we refill it back up. If we just keep like dumping that water in the entire time, it's just going to spill everywhere. And then like we have a huge mess. We don't actually have like a glass of water. We have this like giant mess on our countertop. So your body's going to work the same exact way. It needs space to absorb and adapt and rest. Very, very important. So, last little part that I'll kind of like cover here real quick is how to balance intensity and recovery. First things first is 1 to 2 full rest days or active recovery days per week. I know that this is something that you've probably heard a million times before, and you hear like all of these famous, sports scientists or athletes and stuff like that say that, and you're like, I don't need to do that. I'm not working as hard as they are. You're working hard for you. Remember, context matters when it comes to this. Schedule those 1 or 2 rest or active days into your program. Remember, when you are resting, that is when all of the magic happens. Also, something you can do to avoid overtraining is cycle your intensity. Don't push max effort every single day. Build for a bit, deload, recover, and then you can cycle through that as well. Again, the same kind of mentality when you see some of these people that are like, you don't need a deload or anything like that. Well, you want to know what? If you're a school teacher and it's the end of the year and you're trying to give out state exams and wrap everything up and you're just like, my stress levels are everywhere, maybe you probably do need a deload for a little bit. Uh, Next would be to fuel well. So under eating 100% amplifies overtraining symptoms. There is females, you can check out something called the female athlete triad, which is, all the signs and symptoms of overtraining, and it starts with being malnourished. Men, kind of the same thing. You can check out kind of effects of low testosterone on under eating and performance. And that's all going to talk about all of these things that we've talked about today are kind of all directly correlated to that. You cannot go and do 7 Orange Theory fitness classes a week and eat 800 calories and think that you're going to be able to kind of like build your dream body and recover and feel good. You can push yourself for a while that way, but eventually you're going to crash. And please, like, trust this from the people who have like experienced this before, that it's not like the best way to go. And then sleep and hydration. Those are key, key, key. You have to drink your water and you have to sleep. I've got nothing else to say about that because you got to do it. You got to do it. And then you can use kind of these like self-check questions, maybe weekly, bi-weekly, depends on kind of like where you are, how you're feeling. Am I sleeping well? Am I recovering between sessions? Do I feel like when it's time for me to hit up legs again in 3 days, that my legs feel recovered? Or do I still feel pretty sore? Do I still feel pretty tired? Am I excited to train or am I dragging? Now, understanding that there's lots of times in life when sort of, you've got a lot going on. You're just like, "Ugh, last thing I want to do is go to the gym." That's different than just not wanting to do your workout. Like you look at your workout and you're just like, no, I just don't want to do it. And you just show up and you just do it anyways. There's a difference between those two. The last part is going to be, am I eating enough to support my workouts? Again, ladies, I'm talking to you and I don't mean to pick on you, but it's just, you know what? That's just typically what happens. You cannot do those all of those high intensity workouts and your CrossFit classes or your HIIT workouts or anything like that and just eat 800 calories or 1,000 calories. Your body will shut down on you and you're not going to make the gains that you're looking for. So make sure that you are eating enough to support your workouts. Also, too, something that I tell my clients, and this takes a lot of time. This is kind of very much we call it like the Jesus take the wheel kind of moment where they're like, all right, I'm just going to trust you. When they have their deload weeks, I bump their calories up about 100 or 200 calories because they need some of that extra fuel and that extra energy in their body to help them recover the way that they need to. So, my last little kind of closing message or call to action for all of you is that overtraining doesn't mean that you're weak whatsoever. It just means that you are human and that we all have a spot that we can go to, and then we're going to hit that wall and we just need to reset ourselves. The strongest people and the people who make this last for the long term are the ones who really listen to their bodies. They adjust when it's needed and they aren't afraid to slow down in order to move forward. I promise you that Vince takes his rest days. I very much promise you. I promise you all of the other coaches that have presented in here also take their rest days. We find productive things to do to help us rest and recover. And that is the reason why, you know, we can go on training all the time because we understand to listen to our body. So, one of the things I want you to do is kind of maybe write down some of the things that I spoke about. I will, in the comments, add in sort of that the am I overtraining kind of question checklist that you can look at. Check off to see how many of those things maybe apply to you, and then ask yourself, if I told you to skip your next workout and go on a walk, would you feel guilty or would you feel relieved by that? And whatever that answer is that you tell yourself will tell you everything on where you are kind of in your fitness training right now. So, I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, this is not all of these things that we talk about on here come from a place of love and a place of wanting you to have longevity in everything that you do. Overtraining and pushing yourself to the red line, I know is something that seems very sexy, especially on social media and stuff like that. Everybody knows David Goggins and they can see, him just like redlining it all the time. But remember that context matters. Where you are in your life matters very much. If you have any questions or you need help kind of deciphering through some of this stuff that I talked about, drop it down in the comments. Reach out to your coach if you're working one-on-one with a coach. But most importantly, trust your gut. If I told you to go on a walk for your next workout, would you feel guilty or would you feel relieved? And that will answer where you kind of are in this. Have a great day, everybody.